hey ayo, hey ayo, hey ayo, hey ayo, hey ayo, hey ayo, haweya, hawahiyane, hoyane, haweya, hawahiyane, hoyane, weha, yaho ganewa, hoyane, yaho ganewa, hoyane, yaho ganewa, hoyane, yaho ganewa, hoyane, weha, he anu hawe, he anu hawe, he anu hawe, he anu hawe, yanu hawe, hey yo ho, hey anu hawe, hey anu hawe, yanu hawe, hey yo ho, we ha, hey no hey ya, no ya hey, 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 we ha, we ya na, we ya na, we ya na, we ya na, oh ya ne, we ya na, we ya na, we ya na, oh ya ne, we ha, yo ho he ho, 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 edo ga ho ne, ho yo.
Osio, Gidali, Unega, Aki, Nigira Egi Oganali. Good evening, this is Mashu Whitefeather. Welcome to our show tonight. The lead song in was by Bo Taylor, Eastern Band Cherokee, from his album, Rebuilding the Fire, and that was our Cherokee, or as we say, Anigadua, welcoming song. Tonight, our normal guest host is not with us. She is just landing in New York for our meeting with the United Nations. So we have our other co-host with us tonight, Chimmy Bennett.
I'll see y'all. Real good.
Glad to have you up here, up in the front lines with me tonight.
Yeah, someone's got to keep you in line.
Like I said, Chimmy who? And so Sheila Folger is in the background helping us maintain our show tonight. And then we have listening in with us is Mark DeVille and Gili Tali, my cousin, two dogs from Kentucky. But our special guest tonight is a Lakota lady from South Dakota, originally from Wounded Knee, by the name of Joann Spotted Bear, Matogleska in her language. I like to say, aho kola.
Aho.
Joann Spotted Bear is a very active lady, especially where treaties are concerned pertaining to our indigenous peoples here on Turtle Island, and her people in particular. Joann, could you give us a background of the work you do and your background and your family and where you come from and all of that?
Yes. Whenever I'm on introducing myself to new people, I always have to face the East because it's important what's taking place. And so here we go. So Kaya Washla, Wopla, Waku. Lemia Chamatonia Hemie. Chunkwe Opiomatua. My dear relatives, before anything is said, my name is Bear Woman, and I do come from Wounded Knee. I am an actual descendant of the Little Bighorn, the Wounded Knee Massacre, 1890, World War I, World War II. 1973, my father was a cop. Today, I am a law advocate, an assistant judge, and a Teton Treaty representative talking to the chief ambassadors of the United Nations. So this is very interesting as to what's going to be said here today. And if there's any questions, I would hope that you're not afraid to call the radio station and please join us.
I'm glad you brought up calling the radio station because our call-in number, should there be questions, is area code 718-506-1564. Again, that's area code 718-506-1564. And if you have come on via our webpage, you can also message on there, and your message will get to us, your question or whatever comment you have to say.
Yes, I will be sending it to us.
Okay. So, Joann, what are you working on right now?
Well, there's a few issues I'm dealing with. The first one is the $2.64 billion of embezzlement with the Pine Ridge Lakota Sioux of Pine Ridge, South Dakota. The $500 billion embezzlement of Montana. Wesley Glenn Dick Quashush of the Numa Nation, of the Snake Treaty. His treaty is being neglected, along with his international government organization membership to the United Nations. He does not have sovereign immunity, whereas Wesley should be able to practice his traditional values because he is on his own land, he is a treaty representative, and he is an international government organization member of the UN. And the United States de facto government, the state of Nevada, does not recognize that. Also, I'm also working on the treaties, whereas Harry Reid wrote the treaties out of the Royal Jasper Quarterly bylaws, and I have presented that to the United Nations, along with Governor Sandoval neglecting treaties and charging Native American Indians to tax us as far as insurance is concerned, and the fact that America is named after Americo Vespucci, who died of syphilis in 1512. The corporation America went bankrupt 4 times. The first time was when Christopher Columbus landed or came here. The second time, the Colonial War, the Union War, the 1933 Bankruptcy Act, 2010 when Hillary Clinton went to the United Nations, messed up on the paperwork, and also the Washington, D.C. itself is named after the Clintons. It used to be a prison holding mass murderers. Yes, I am talking about the White House. It used to be a prison facility holding mass murderers in 1928. One of the mass murderers' name was Carl Hansram. And he is currently, there's a movie, an autobiography movie on him through Netflix. So those are just some of the things I'm working on.
Geez, I hope we have enough time. Eh?
Yeah.
A lot to cover here.
Yeah. Okay, let's stoke that fire. We're going to be here for a while.
Maybe a long show tonight.
I tell you what, Miss Spotty Bear, if I may, I was going to ask you one thing, if it's all right.
Yes.
With all due respect. By the way, Washte, for having you. I'm so grateful to be with you. But I was told that 20 to 22 people died on Pine Ridge this winter because no heaters and other things like that too. Is that going on up there?
In Pine Ridge, every week there's 7 to maybe 14 people. No, any given 2 weeks, there's 7 to 14 people that died. There's unreported suicide deaths that have happened this past winter alone. There's elderlies that have went without heat and wood. And the propane in less than 1 month jumped from $120, $150 to $200. And we heard that the propane was that they were not given the proper propane, that some of it was just air that they were delivering, and that they were lying to the elderlies about giving them all the propane that they said that they deliver. So somebody's lying in the delivering of propane.
Well, what we're doing, Miss Spotted Bear, is this: we're fixing to hold a council with a few more people and try to get some heaters up there to the Oyate. We're trying to get the heaters up there to them for at least for next winter. You know what I'm saying? To where, you know, one heater, maybe $20 heater may save 4 lives. So, you know, we're trying.
I don't find anything wrong with helping with heaters. I do, however, was asked to tell the people that when it comes to sending heaters and clothes and things like that, to send them to the elderly, and the elderly will start distributing these things, because people have been taking advantage of the situation concerning all the heaters and Pine Ridge.
Yes.
And the main concern is giving it to the people that will make sure it's distributed to the people who really need it.
Yes. Well, that's why we should let the elders take care of it and distributing it to the people that really need it.
Mashu, if you let me help you just for a second here, brother. For those
Sure.
that don't know what's going on here also with the Lakota Oyate, the Lakota people, is that you have close to 85%, from my understanding, unemployment level. Suicide rate is rampant, alcoholism. But the thing about it is we are not going to give up on nothing. We're going to give. The thing about Indian people is that we give, and if we give everything, that just means we're rich in many ways. You know, we're giving people, and I worry a lot about the Oglala and other nations. So we're going to do what we can, Miss Spotted Bear. We're going to do what we can. Go ahead, Mashu. I'm sorry.
One of the worst reservations in the country is Pine Ridge. And if you compare Pine Ridge to any other place in the world, it is, especially being in the United States, it's worse than any third world country. And Joanne, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on anything. But the life expectancy there, the typical life expectancy is like 45 to 50. Tuberculosis is still going on there. There's hardly any employment. And a lot of this is because the government has not kept up with the treaties and providing for the care, just the basic needs of what these people need. Then you have some corruption in the tribal offices there. There's people that are embezzling money, and the monies are not getting to the people. So you have, especially your elders and your children, that are not getting like heat for the winter months, and it's terribly cold in the Dakotas. You know, they have like wind chill factors of below 50 and 60 sometimes, maybe even colder than that. And up until recently, there hasn't really been that much of an incentive for these people to like better themselves. Now, Pine Ridge is one place that I have not been myself, but I've had lots of friends that have gone out there, and I think the one that can really address that and tell us what's going on, and some of the other causes of what's going on would be Joann. How does that sound to you, Joann?
When it comes to my Lakota people, there's one thing that I can say for sure, and that is I really love my people, but I don't like the tribal government, how they manipulate the system, whereas Pine Ridge has enough money to provide the heating for every single home in Pine Ridge, the school, the children, the health care. But because of embezzlement, they're manipulating the system. I can actually say names because I'm from Pine Ridge. Number one, we have Rhonda Two Eagles, who has impeachment charges, who the FBI and the BIA police on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation neglect to honor and charge her with treason, and the FBI and Rapid City neglect to charge Rhonda Two Eagles, and the state of South Dakota neglect to charge Rhonda Two Eagles. Tracy Tuvalu of Washington, D.C., Department of Justice refused to listen to the grandmothers and the complaints that we have issued to him concerning the embezzlement of $2.64 billion in housing fraud and the Oglala Sioux tribe, and concerning the XL pipeline. They neglected every level of all of this. What they did do, though, was they failed to tell the Lakota Sioux people that they were going to run the XL pipeline without their permission until everybody got a hold of what was going on. And I want to say thank you to one of my Hunka brothers who went out of his way, even so far as giving me the papers, because what they did was they used the tribal funds to buy into the XL pipeline as independent business owners. And nobody has that kind of money. If Pine Ridge has no heat and no wood, they have no damn business buying into the damn XL pipeline. And the XL pipeline, they don't want to spend dividends on the Indians. That's why they're wanting to buy the land. And for myself, I have to say, not just no, but hell no. No, but for real, I mean no.
The thing is, it's really hard for me to understand any of our indigenous people buying into this crap, especially with the XL pipeline, when traditionally speaking, we are the keepers of the earth. We are the guardians as indigenous people. Traditionally, we keep this land. When we pass through this life, we leave it better for our future generations, and we've always been taught, at least I've always been taught, for at least 7 generations ahead. You have this other, aside from indigenous people, and I can only talk for our indigenous people, and we do have supporters that are that are non-indigenous. But when you talk to the corporate-owned governments, and all the governments of the world are owned by 6 corporations, they don't have this philosophy, and their theory is to get all their riches and all of their wealth now because they want it in their lifetime. But what they're not realizing is that they're killing off humanity. They're killing off the human species while they're doing this. The oil that they're so asphyxiated on getting, that's the blood of our mother, the earth. And they're draining her of that, and they're doing it by a system called fracking, which is causing tar sands. This is leaking off into our water. All of our water is becoming contaminated, and it's killing the fish. It's killing the vegetation on our landscapes, all over the land. And then the animals go to this water, the wildlife, to drink, and it's getting them sick. And we've been posting for over a year now the results of this. Of the fish are getting big blisters and bleeding throughout their gills. We have a picture of deer in all life, that has big like cysts and sores on them, and they're dying. In New Zealand, where our other co-host Doreen is from, that has actually started to shift the plates of the earth, and they say if it goes a few more miles, then the whole country of New Zealand is going to sink. And the sad thing is that people know this. People know this, and they are so concerned on the greed and the money that they just go ahead and do it. There's not even any consideration of what's going on. Now, that's what the problem is. Now it's gotten to the point where they're trying to go through land, treated land that is belonging to sovereign nations within Turtle Island. And Turtle Island is the real name of the North American continent. And they are breaking treaties. Excuse me?
These corporations, they do realize what's going on too, and they just don't care because the name of the game here is profits, not lives.
Oh, exactly. But see, they're coming across our Indian people that are sovereign and that are recognized by the United States government as being sovereign, and this is sovereign land. So it's like dealing with a different country. Every tribe that is federally recognized has
Hold
their
on, I need to stop you. Hold on. I want to stop you right there. The United States government, let's talk about this paper. Before the government can put 2014 on a piece of paper, that paper has to be blank.
It has to be what?
It has to be blank, a blank piece of paper.
Oh.
Before they call it an act. Okay, first off, treaties, they started in 1059 before Christ. And the original treaty of the land is 10 Commandments. In the 10 Commandments it says, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie. But the government refuses to listen to religious purposes while working in federal offices. So what happens is you got to hit them where it's low. The low point of the whole thing is Washington and is a prison. It used to be a prison that held mass murderers. And the mass murderers were there. The Birdman that was in Alcatraz was in the prison. It used to be called the Clinton Correctional Facility. Carl Panzram, notorious mass murderer of 9 people. He sodomized men, boys, 16 men and old men, and he didn't care. Lincoln that sits right there at the doorway, Lincoln is in the movie called, Carl Panzram is in he made an autobiography, and that autobiography is on Netflix right now, and it shows that the White House was a prison. So you got to remember that. Then you got to remember that Washington, D.C., the corporation went bankrupt 4 times. The first time was when Christopher Columbus came. The second time, the Colonial War, the Civil War, and then 1933 Bankruptcy Act. 2010, like I was saying, Hillary Clinton went to the United Nations and messed up on her paperwork. As of today, United States government is trying to borrow money from Iran. So as of right now, the government is bankrupt. So this XL pipeline, in order to make money for the government, they have to get oil from somewhere. And in order to do that, they have to go through the treaty representative lands. And because I am a treaty member and I am an official landholder in Wounded Knee, I put a stop to the Department of Bureau of Land Management because Harry Reid is an employee. He is a federal employee of Washington, D.C., and Washington made mutual agreements with 564 plus federal recognized tribes. One of those tribes happened to be the Teton Lakota Sioux people. That's the Lakota, Nakota, Dakota people. And Pine Ridge Indian Reservation is not a treaty. Pine Ridge is a corporation named the Oglala Sioux Tribal Offices, not the Teton Lakota Sioux people. Treaty councils. There's two differences there. They use the name and the people's money to finance, to become greedy, just like this government. So in return, this government rolls over, and when they do wrong and it is reported, they neglect the impeachment charges. They neglect the charges of treason. So that's why today I'm talking to the Chief Ambassador. Mashu, I sent you the documents of the Exile pipeline of Tom Porbear. His name is on the document. He's the Vice President of Pine Ridge right now. I sent you conversations I had with the Chief Ambassador of the UN. Matter of fact, he's going to be at this meeting on the 20th of May. There's a lot of things that I'm saying that if you don't believe me, and you don't have to, look at it yourself, because this is very, very serious. There is no bill of sales from California to New York, Montana to Texas, Alaska, Hawaii, Micronesia, and Belize. And because America was named after Amerigo Vespucci, and Amerigo Vespucci died in 1512, America is not no country at all. Always try to tell the Indians, you're not an American. And even if you was, that government don't want you. They don't want nothing about you. Because if they did, they'd be helping our people. And that's really hard to accept. Another one that's hard to accept is if we have African people who are listening right now. I'm going to say this to you too. The African people, I used to talk to Ambassador Kurt Allah. And Sir Kurt Allah stood up for Obama. And I tried to tell him the same stuff, and he didn't believe me. So our friendship, it took a left. And I had told the ambassador, before black people came to this land, the indigenous people were called niggers. They used to call us, they used to say, them goddamn hairy niggers don't know shit. But they said that because we would never get down on our hands and knees. And every time they wanted to destroy the land, our people said no. There was a time, even the half-breeds, the white people, they said, that goddamn son of a bitch, baby, don't belong to me. And the Indian chief, he said, hey, don't say that. That baby's gonna grow up one day. So the white man general, he said, if you want that effing bastard, have them. We don't have no use for them. So the Indian chief said, when that baby grows up, you're going to regret the day you ever said anything about that child. So when the children grew up, the half-breeds, when they grew up, they loved the Full-Bloods. They did anything for the Full-Bloods. So the government said, something about those damn Indians, they know something because they got all of our goddamn children working for them like damn hairy niggers. And so what they did was the government decided to use every race around the world to work for the Navy, Air Force, Marines, Army, including the National Guard. And that's the reason why when different countries go to war, they can't tell if it's their people or an American or who it is. And it was because of the Indians, the native indigenous Indians of this land. Also, it was the native indigenous people of this land that when the war broke out in Guam, okay, against China, the Guam seen these Indians, these Fubloods, and they understood sign language. The Fubloods and the Guams, they understood one another. So they told them where the Chinese were hanging out. So the indigenous people took it upon themselves, using their traditional language, to subdue China. And the United States government became very ungrateful for the simple fact it was indigenous language that saved the American government's ass. And I get really sentimental when I talk about this, because this government is really ungrateful. But I have to take a step back and look. The White House was a prison. It was a prison named Clinton Correctional Facility holding mass murderers. So with that being said, I have to go and look at it again and remember that company is a broke company. They're like real humble, broke people. And when you give them a penny, they go and deny you. And then when after they done stab you in the back, they come back to you and ask you for 2 nickels and a dime. And you're so loving and forgiving, you give it to them, and then they shoot you in the head, and then you turn around, give them $1, and they're still ungrateful. And so no matter how many times you're good to them, these damn son of a gun people are very ungrateful in the way that they treat our indigenous nations, all 564 federal tribes. So one of my plans is to think about that. And if we shut down that prison called the White House and rebuilt another one, we would we can literally shut down the White House, build another building for the benefit of 564 federal recognized tribes, because every one of us know that treaties are supreme. According to Article 6, Clause 2, it states that treaties are supreme law of the land. They're notoriously known around the world. Even the United Nations ambassador knows it. The United States government corporation and its employees wrote out treaties and replaced them with copywritten laws called the Acts. The Acts is a form of premeditated murder of indigenous people and its lands. Give me a minute, I need to breathe.
Well, Stay, you done great.
That's really good information you're putting out there, because a lot of people are not aware of the facts that you're telling, Joanne, and that's really good. But the other thing, too, is that there are, what did you say, 596 federally recognized tribes?
Yeah, I believe it's
564.
Yeah, 64, that's right.
564. Okay, that's federally recognized tribes. There are a lot more tribes, like twice that many, that are not recognized by the United States government.
Like Northwest states.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of our indigenous people that are full blood, that are mixed blood, that are just as traditional in their believing, and try to follow the ways that the government does not recognize. And that's also because of the enrollments that they have decided to use to decide if a person is indigenous or not, according to blood, the blood quantum that they started to divide and conquer our people. And that started because they thought if they got us all out to where we didn't have hardly any bloodlines of our, that were direct, and they could take all the land. But we're pests, and we don't die, and we don't go away, and we're still fighting for the land. And that's the way it's been, and that's the way it will continue to be. All right, I'm going to give you our call-in number one more time, just in case there's anybody that's trying to reach it. The area code is 718-506-1564. Again, that's area code 718-506-1564. And if you are on communicating via our website, Just Us Radio Network, you can comment and message through the page there, and Chimmy will let us know.
Yes, I will.
Are you okay, Joann?
Yes, I am. I was still eating. I occasionally, when I can't have dog soup, I'll go to the neighbors and eat their cat.
Geez, you're just telling us and making that the Lakota cuisine just mouth-watering, eh? With that nice fry bread and corn soup, dog soup.
Now you're making me
mashu,
hungry, brother.
Mashu.
Yes.
If you allow me, brother, I got a brother that is on Pine Ridge right now. That is, his father is a full-blooded Lakota. His mother is full-blood Dakota, and we're talking about this blood quantum thing that you're talking about.
Oh,
now,
I know what you're going to. Oh, I know.
They have him down as half when both parents are full. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, that's wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Very wrong.
Well, that's because
there's plenty of our people that are like that. There's a lady. Her name is Ina Mae Rodriguez. Her son was shot and killed in Salt Lake City by the police, and they moved his body and said he shot himself in the head. And the morgue listed him as an Asian descent, which means that they did not call the Teton people and tell them that one of their loved ones had died. They listed him as an Asian because majority of the people they claim to be ethnic are not Asian, but what's another word for the white people use on their documents?
Caucasian.
Yeah.
Caucasian, yes, Caucasian. And when they misinterpret that whole thing, it throws the count off of the indigenous people. So this half-breed and full-blood is, on one hand, it's good. On the other hand, it's bad. The good part about this whole thing is this. For the federal government, a federal employee in the 41 presidents, including Obama, there's never been one full-blood ever to be a president. So that's good. And the other hand, the president, they want everybody to be Caucasian. That way they don't have to account for the indigenous people when they die. So that's the bad part.
Well, that even happened when they were doing the enrollments and putting us on reservations. They wouldn't put down that they were Indian sometimes. They would put down that they were white or some other race because they wanted our numbers to be small. And they would lie about that blood quantum. You know, our people never had blood quantum before. You know, this was strictly used to divide and conquer the people to get the land. That's all it was for. Was to get our land, and we're like pests. We won't go away. They're still trying to get all of our land, and they're using every way that they can think of to do that. Up in Kanakota, you know what I'm talking about. Two Dogs. Prime Minister Harper up there just did a whole thing on paper genocide last year, where he just wrote off all indigenous people.
Yes.
And took away their treaty rights, their water rights, their natural resource rights, and said they didn't exist. You know, well, you don't do that to a whole ethnic group. I mean, you might as well be Hitler and turn on the gas. But this is how unscrupulous these outside parties are in treating the people that welcomed them here in the first place and sustained their lives. The greed took over. Our people, as a rule, are not greedy people. We had to be taught how to be that way. And this is why, in like what Joann Spotted Bear's talking about, the embezzlement going on in Pine Ridge and the tribal offices there, you know, these are things that are not natural to our people. This was taught to us. And it's disgusting, you know, that we do that to our own people.
You know, I'm going right with you, Mashu. Let's look at Adolf Harper over in Canada. I call him that because I'm seeing this, and the SS of Canada as far as the RCMP. You got thousands of missing indigenous women over there. One guy that actually works for Mr. Harper in that government stated on camera now, to handle the Indian problem, we must go through the women. Well, that's genocide, man.
Right. And with a lot of our tribes, you know, especially for us Cherokee, and I know it's the same way with her people as well, that everything goes through the women. And we traditionalists listen to our elders, and we listen to our grandmothers, and we know of these stories, and we know of the prophecies, and we know how things are supposed to be. But this is what we're having to still deal with today. And a lot of people don't realize that the same things that you read about in your history books of fighting and the wars over treaties and stuff, they think we went through that, but what they don't realize is that we are still doing that today. It still continues. The genocide in all levels still being continued against indigenous Americans.
It's like Prime Minister Harper. Prime Minister Harper says, okay, you're not Mohawk, you're not Cree, Anishinaabe, you're Canadian. No. And basically, I've seen a lot to, the Lakota territory, where you have, they call them, suicides, to where you get shot in the back of the head. No, that's murder, man.
You know, the thing is, and you've heard me say this on your show as well, you know, for indigenous people, we always talk about our past because it's important for us to know our past and the things that went on. And most of our histories are told through oral tradition because the history that's told in the history books are nothing but lies. And I know they're lies concerning our indigenous people because we know our history. And the history books are governed by what the government allows it to be printed. And there are things in that history book that were disproven over 50 years ago. So it's important to us indigenous people that we know what happened. And like I said, it's through our oral tradition. And a lot of people say, well, you need to forget that and you need to move on. No, we don't want to forget it because this is our history and we learn from that. And even though our history has not been good since European migration, it teaches us lessons, and we build on that for today so we can build a better future for our people. We don't we don't hang in the past and we don't dwell in the past. We are a very progressive people, and we're learning how to make a better future for our people, at the same time maintaining our traditions and our culture and our language, because we never ever want to forget where we come from, who we are, and the things we do is to honor our ancestors. Welcome back, Joann.
Thank you. That that cat caught in my throat and made me cry.
Brother.
The next Chinese cat I catch, I'm gonna eat it again.
Brother and sister, we have Benita Rose that has her hand up and would like to ask a question.
Sure.
Okay.
Hi.
Benita, go ahead.
Hi. How are you guys?
Oh, still, Benita.
Hello.
I'll see y'all.
We watched it. We're good.
My name is Red Wolf. Shaun Kahaluta, Miss Joann. Seeing as how you're a Lakota, I was wondering, how are the Lakota handling the fact that we have reverted back 50, 60, 70 to 100 years ago, and they're taking the children away from the tradition and their languages in the name of poverty? When I don't see them on the south side of Chicago taking their children away.
Well,
go
ahead, Joann.
That's a really good point. And Betiki Washte, welcome. And this afternoon is a good day. And Miss Rose, what I can tell you is this. Those of us who are standing up and those who are around the world, we need to come to an agreement that America is not a country, because this corporation has went worldwide and killed a lot of people. And until 3/4 of the world can agree that America is a corporation creating harm to Indigenous worldwide, then there's not going to be no change. As for our children, the only way to keep the tradition alive is to practice it in your home every day. And some days are very, very tough. Our kids, when they become teenagers, they decide that they want to be like other children. They want to have things like other children. A perfect example of children, my son, he goes to a very good school here in Reno. And he asked me, he said, Mom, he said, how come you don't get a job and get a better car and forget about those people? And how come you don't make them pay you? And I said, son, those people are having a hard time just like we are. He said, well, they're not your problem, I am. And that really made me think. And I used to drive semi and make $700 every week. Now I don't make hardly any money at all. And when I told the grandmothers the way I was feeling in Pine Ridge, they told me, they said, here in Pine Ridge on this reservation, these white people, they come in here. These half-breeds, they come in here. And they tell us this government's way of life, how they're doing things. And they think that they're doing a good job. But they're not. They're destroying us. They're destroying our culture. They're destroying everything our people put their life on. And if you want to save it, then you have to practice it in your everyday life. And you have to hold on to your children to the best way you know how in your family. And so with that being said, my brother, Joe Jr., Spotted Bear, he called me and he asked me, he said, sister, He said, I want to come over and stay with you. He said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about our father, what I said. I'm sorry about our grandma. I didn't know her. And I'll never say anything about traditional ways again. He said, I think you're doing a good job. And I said, I said, Junior, I said, if I was a boy, my name would have been Joe Jr., but I'm not. My name is Joann, Spotted Bear. I said, and you, Junior, our dad used to hold you on his lap, and he thought you was the greatest gift ever in his whole life. I said, and so I was kind of jealous. I said, but the bottom line is, I am still the older sister, and I'm going to tell you that our grandmother and our father were peyote people. Our people are chanupa carriers, and we honor those eagle feathers. And I'm going to live my life like that till the day I die, whether you like it or your mom or anybody. I don't care what you say about me, because when it comes down to it, Tunkashila, Creator Mighty God, is going to be the only one to tell me. And never in my life did I ever think I would have close to 1 million people following me and listening to peyote music when I play it every single morning. And that's the way to help your children to remember that there's a better life out there. You don't have to dwell on what somebody else is doing. If it doesn't work for you and something else makes you happy, look at what makes you happy, not what makes you sad. I mean, with that being said, myself, I've been shot, I've been stabbed, I've been ran over, I've been molested, I've been disowned. My mom and dad are dead. I'm from Wounded Knee. And I'm trying to do a 1,000,000-man march from Wounded Knee to Washington. And I don't know who's going to join me. And even the United Nations ambassadors told me they're going to be in Washington. And I told them that instead of me going to Washington to join them, why don't they join me on a walk? Why don't you help me instead of me always trying to go overboard to help you? I've done the job of Congress. I've done the job of the FBI and the CIA, and I'm still trying to do it. The only thing I didn't do was make an arrest or kill anybody. Just those two things. But if I had to help, guarantee I would try to make our country a little bit better.
I've always said, and I've always heard, my mother was the one that the American Indian got passed down from. And it was it's Chalaki, it's Choctaw, it's Caddo, and it's Cuchata Indian. My mother was born and raised Louisiana. And so it's always been a matriarchal society. And, I've been signing Leonard Peltier protest signs and petitions for almost 30 years now. And I'm sick and tired of our people being the ones that get singled out. And it's like you said earlier, we're not American citizens, but yet you look at the Navajo. If it wasn't for them, World War II never would have been won. And the reason we won World War I was because it was the Choctaw who did the code talking then. It was the Choctaw that did the code talking for World War I. We've been the ones to always kick everybody else out of this country and win for this country. And when we go to the powwows, we honor our veterans and our military. They are the first ones honored. I don't understand how they can cut the budget and how they can turn around and say that we don't matter. I don't understand. If they would just look to us once and ask for our help, we would be more than happy to give it. Considering the first
That's
welfare
the problem.
program, considering the first welfare program in this country was them getting off of their ships and us handing them skins and hides and food and saying, here, we hope this can get you through the winter.
That's the problem. We give them too much, and they became reliable on us. So reliable, they're willing to kill us off so that they can have this whole entire country to themselves. They're willing to contaminate the water. If you had a baby, right now, excuse me, if you had a baby right now in your arms, and you made that baby a fresh bottle of milk, and the government did not tell you that the Missouri River was contaminated by the XL pipeline because the pipe broke in 2015, and you loved your baby, like brand new baby, you just had him, and you're giving him a fresh bottle of milk and the water's contaminated, you would be assisting the government in killing off that child. So with that being said, when are we going to wake up and say no?
Thank you. Because that's another thing, too, that chaps my behind. Because there was one of the heads of NASA even went up there and protested that pipeline. He was arrested. They arrested one of the heads of NASA because he wrote a report an inch and a half thick saying that those sand tars are capable of doing. With one leak, I had a cousin who puts in pipe and welds for a living. He quit that job after 3 weeks. You know why, Miss Joanna? There is an Awasichu not getting killed at least once or twice a day. The spirits do not want that pipeline there anymore than we want it there.
Exactly. You know what? You will not.
My cousin quit that job.
Sorry, go ahead.
My cousin quit that job.
You will not hear of what. Good. You will not hear people talking about this. You will not see this in the news media. This is why things like this on the this modern technology of the computer. This is the way to reach people from around the world because things are not being told to the American people. And that's a perfect example of what you were just talking about. When this Idle No More started in Canada, I happened to be in New Zealand, and I became the spokesperson of it over there. And when I got back here to Turtle Island, and I started talking to some of our tribal friends, I'm Anigadua from Alabama. Everybody's going, what are you talking about, Idle No More? They didn't know about what's going on with our brothers and sisters across the Canadian border. You know, about the protesting.
Wow.
You know, and I'm going, what? And it's because the news media does not want people to know what's going on. And this is why we need to depend on the.
May I say this real simple, Mashu, real quick, okay? And I'll let you get it back. To the listener, Gwili Tali is my name. In Lakota is Shonka Nompa Mielo. In other words, what I'm trying to say is if you look at the world media about indigenous people, okay, you have John T. Williams in Seattle that got shot in the back 7 times by a Seattle police officer because he was whittling when he went across the road. You have a young 3-year-old Cheyenne Arapaho girl, Naomi White Crow, that was beat to death by her foster mother and $15,000 fine, slap on the wrist, go home.
Oh, my gosh.
You don't hear that on the world media. And as far as I'm concerned, I am not going to let Naomi White Crow go till she gets justice. But here's the point. If it's the world media, you will not hear it. Mashu, I'm sorry, brother.
That's okay. The other thing is, too, is that we have over 1,000 missing Native women and children that the governments are not accounting for, nor are they making an effort to find out where it's happening to them. And our people knows what's happening to them. They're being sold. As a matter of fact, up in Canada, they put on American ships and shipped off for sex trade and
slavery.
as a slave, really.
Exactly.
Yeah. And even young kids.
Up, that's the end of them. Once they're used up and nobody wants them anymore, dispose of them.
Well, and they're killed. A lot of them are killed. A lot of them are missing. And then on top of that, you've got state governments that are taking Native children away from Native parents in divorce settlements and actually selling them to other states, adopting them out, and taking them from their families.
I don't understand. How can you do that? How can you legally do that when the tribal council says no, you cannot do that? Tribal council, when it comes to Native American children, tribal council should have full say. Okay, and that's just like the baby Veronica case. Her father finally did the right thing. You know, her father finally did the right thing and gave the family Veronica because he said, you know what, as much as I love my daughter, I don't want to put her through this. And one day Veronica's going to go looking for her father.
They should not have taken her from her father.
No, they shouldn't have.
The tribal
council
said they couldn't do it. But the Supreme Court overruled it.
It was because of crooked courts, crooked lawyers in South Carolina, and there's also another crooked lawyer up in Nebraska that's trying to do the same thing. And this is another legal way that they're trying to take our Indian children away from us. I mean, they killed enough of our people in the damn boarding schools and trying to kill us there. Lots of our children died there.
Revert back to those times. What's next? They're going to start cutting our hair and telling us that we can't speak our language?
Well, they've been trying that for years.
Yes, I have lived through that.
Yep.
I'm 65 years old. You're talking to somebody who has lived through that. I am a warrior. I am a member of our Warrior Society. I'm Eastern Band Cherokee, Chickamauga, and Ote.
I honor you. I honor you, brother. Yep. I honor you.
And that's what Two Feathers International is all about, is getting our people to return back to our ways, bringing culture and history and the language back to our people, and getting them reconnected with spirit.
Exactly, Sammy. Let's look at it this way. My two women here, my two women. I honor you, by the way, because I'd like to do this because you're a life giver, and to all life givers. Without you, there'd be no nations, and there would be no me. So I bow to both of you.
What though?
Here's the point. Here's the point that Mashu knows about me. I was beat up, left for dead because I stood up for a burial ground when I was 12 years old. It took me 6 months to get back on my feet. They actually hung me and said if I didn't know God, I soon will. I'm still here fighting. I'm 55 years old, and I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to quit fighting as long as I'm here. As long as Wakantanka allows me to stay here, I'm going to fight. And I'm fighting for the women. The elders are your wisdom. The women are your life givers, and the children are your next generation. If we're the 7th generation to mend the sacred hoop, the 8th generation's on its way fast. We got to get back.
Okay, we want to take a break, brothers and sisters?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll take a break and we will be...
Miss Joanna, Wopilatanka.
No, go ahead and...
We will return shortly after a break, okay?
Join us on Just Us Radio Network for our shows Inflowment, Unity in Community, Numbers in Time, the Indigenous Peoples Voice, One Point of View, Walking the Talk with Kurt, and the People's Round Table. Check out our website for information about upcoming shows. Just ask Google to find Just Us Radio Network and you will find links to our website and to our blog talk and Facebook pages, as well as to our podcast where you can subscribe for automatic downloads.
Osio, aho,
Osio,
and welcome back to our show. We have a very lively conversation going on, talking about what's going on in Indian country amongst our people even today. I guess one of my big questions that our people still have to work through, and I see this only happening with our people coming together in unity, and that's
yes,
for us to be able to take better care of our children, because in all Indian cultures, our children are our future, and we have to be more vigilant about what's going on with our children. As far as what outside forces are doing today. So I guess this is what's important to me, because without our children we have no future, and we have to make sure our future with our children is going to be one that they can survive in and still maintain their culture, their traditions, and their language. I guess my dream as an individual would like to see our people survive in a sustainable culture and society where we're not harming our mother, the earth, and taking all the natural resources away from them. There's lots of things we can do that are sustainable, like with their energy and stuff, that will always be there for us, for our people. I'd like to see our history finally told correctly in the history books instead of all the lies. I'd like to see us using sustainable energy that we will never have to worry about. But these are all things that I have to work for. And we're not going to be able to do anything in this country about what's going on without the help of our non-Indigenous friends. And we have a lot of supporters that are backing us up. And the only way that I see that we're going to stop this oil being the main concern and getting all of these corrupt people out of government is that our people and our supporters are going to have to stand up like they have in other countries and just say it's not going to happen. But first we have to get the people informed of what's happening. We have to get the people informed of what's happening, and that's not going to be via mainstream media, because they don't want the people to know. Go ahead, Joanne.
Thank you, brother. Relatives, those who are listening right now, this is the main reason for the Million Man March to Washington. What is being said right now, even though I do a radio station with 101.3 Renegade Radio on Wednesdays with famous country and western singer Lacey J. Dalton, they do not like me talking about treaties on the radio, nor am I paid to do that radio station. Lacey J. Dalton will help me with maybe $20 when she can. The other one is Eddie Floyd. He's the co-host of Renegade Radio. When I speak about treaties, it does make the corporation CEOs very upset. The Renegade Radio does go worldwide and it does go viral. I was recording the radio station and putting it on the internet, but I had stopped doing that, and Native Voice One. Okay, what happened was Native Voice One and Renegade Radio came together. Renegade Radio had 43 radio stations. Native Voice One had 154, with a grand total of 194 radio stations tuning in worldwide. And these two radio stations, once I start speaking about treaties and the Constitution and Wesley Glenn Dick being neglected on a national and international level, I have lost a lot of people who did not want to listen to me. But because I'm headstrong and I'm not giving up, I am using every means worldwide to see to it that I can help our people to live. So what Mashu is saying is very, very true. These things are not, they're not about Lakota people. They're not about people in Wounded Knee. They're about the entire world. They said if the volcano ever explodes because of all the mining that's in the ground, this world will crack like an egg, and everybody will pay for it. I know there's some of you out there who have had dreams or visions or information like that. If you had them, you better pay attention. And those of you who think God don't exist, well, when Judgment Day comes, you're going to have another thing coming. I hate to say it that way. And those of us who are going on that walk, I strongly ask you not to drink or do drugs. The reason for that request is drinking and drugs cause a lot of trouble. And because our men and some of our women, mainly our younger women, I don't want them to be abducted. I don't want them to be molested. And I definitely don't want them to get lost on this million-man march to Washington. I want to do like a leapfrog of 25 miles a day, depending on how many we have, and get as far ahead as we can with what we have, how we can. A lot of you are going to have to either help if you can't walk, support us, or do something.
Engari te titi e tani hare ana Vai to koru Arawa Raukawa Tena ko au nei e manu Kei te ua kiwi mahue I te tawa Ka toro te rā kau ki rungara Ka hoki mai ki te pō Ka whai uri ki au Nokua noko ia ko te ware ware rā
If Joanne doesn't mind, I got one thing to say, to the people out there. And this goes to every indigenous nation here on Turtle Island, is that whatever petty differences we've had with each other in the past, it's time for unity amongst us all. All of us. All nations. It's time for unity. Go ahead, Mashu.
No, I was going to say that a lot of times when we've been on our other radio shows with my cousin, if we started talking about things that we're not supposed to be talking about according to the government, our show gets interrupted. And that's happened quite a bit with us when we're talking on issues like this. And this is the first time this has ever happened, and it may not have anything related to that at all. It just makes me very curious at some time.
Harry Lee worked for the government for 30 years, and he may have thought that just because all of our elders are dead, that the rest of us had forgotten what traditional values meant and how much Mother Earth meant to us as indigenous people. So what I was thinking as we continue talking about this, we're not going to forget. We'll never, ever forget what our loved ones say, because what we say today, our children, they hear it, and our grandchildren hear it. And what the grandfathers and grandmothers say, all of us, we listen to them. And no matter how much money there is in the world, there's nothing better than the Creator. If you have to destroy Earth in order to prove to somebody that you have something to give, what are you going to do when you destroy heaven and have nothing to give?
Oh.
Can I have a ha and a ho?
And that's the way it is. Hey.
Well, she told me, ha.
Now, what am I going to do with that? Eh? You know, we were talking before. We were talking before about our Native people not having a voice and not being able to talk about these things, you know, for the world to hear. This is one program by its title alone, Indigenous Peoples Voice. This is exactly the place where you can talk about those things. And even on my cousin's shows, you know, the Welcome to the Heart Drum. Those are shows where all of our indigenous people around the world have a voice. They're on these shows.
Yes.
And this is on any subject, on anything that's facing any indigenous community. We talk about what the problems are, and we also like to talk about solutions to the problem because we like to be positive about the outcome of what we're going to do. We all know what we've gone through as indigenous people, and it's what we do with that to turn it into a positive. I want to turn this over to you for a minute, Chimmy. I will be right back.
Okay.
You know, I was thinking about what our brother had said, and a couple of things come to mind. First one that comes to mind is dealing with the United Nations and treaties are supreme, and America being a broke corporation, our best request can be to shut down Washington, D.C.
Yes.
And any paperwork that deals with us directly, we can make a difference, because what I do know is that Robert Kiyosaki made a statement for Quickstar in 2003. One of the statements were 8th grade dropouts are multimillionaires, and it takes a doctor 10 years to go to college to get his PhD and another 10 years to pay back for the schooling he went for. And since when do we allow an 8th grade dropout to tell us what to do? And the other one is this government. This government in Pine Ridge, what I've learned about Pine Ridge, education-wise, is Pine Ridge is anywhere from 10 to 15 years behind. But the government failed the indigenous people about 100 years. However, the entire world, they left them out about a grand total of maybe, I would guess, about 500 years of education of government knowledge, because this American government that we have here today, they are embezzling, they are manipulating documents, they are running their program out of what used to be a prison for mass murderers. They are violating the Constitution. They have took an oath and swore to protect and serve the people. And the people is the indigenous people are supposed to come first because of them treaties. And there's no indigenous, real indigenous actors on ABC, NBC, or CBS. Once in a great while, you'll see Saginaw Grant, or once in a great while, you might see some of our Indian actors and actresses. But from what I understand, our indigenous people have to play as Mexican people, and when that happens, it intimidates our 564 federal recognized tribes, and that's really in my opinion is a shot to the heart. I should say.
Well, that's why it's so imperative now. It's so imperative now that all of the indigenous peoples of the world stand up and our nations join as one nation, so that we are able to speak out against these atrocities and this genocide happening to our people and to our planet, to our mother.
You know, before it was hard for our tribes to come together for one common goal because every indigenous community has their own specific set of problems. But since we're talking about saving the world, that's one thing that our whole people, no matter which tribe and no matter where in the world, we can come under because they're destroying the earth.
Yes.
This is one time we can all come together for a common cause and a common goal. Before this was started, it was difficult for our people to do that because of the differences for each community.
Well, and they kept us fighting amongst ourselves too. They've kept us amongst ourselves and we've done this ourselves too. I mean, we can't just totally blame it on them. We fought amongst ourselves, but we have a common cause. We need to come together as one nation and
exactly.
And stop.
But that's we needed a common goal to bring us together.
Right.
And so this is where
so my question to you two men.
Say it again.
My question, Jim and Mashu, my question to both of you two men is, I'd like to have a 1,000,000-man march, and I am leaving here and going to be in Wounded Knee on the 10th. What will it take for me to make you men walk with me to Washington? I mean, besides money, give me a better reason, or how much more do we have to endeavor before we're going to wake up? How much talking? Because over the last 3 years since the XL pipeline started, we've had a few deaths. We've had people standing up on the XL pipeline. We've had protests. There's a lot of people talking the same story. But the only one that ever went to Washington was the Cowboys and Indians, and that was because of the Texas group. They took their group over there, and I was hoping that all of us nationwide can start going that way, coming together. Don't just start talking about it and not doing it, but literally doing it and stop talking about it.
Well, that's just it. We do. We need to stop talking about it, and we need to do it. I want to be there. I want to be a part of it. Exactly. Walk the talk, Sheila.
Yes, exactly. And I will be at the UN during that time, trying to make a difference.
Not the full 41 days. The full 41 days. By the time the first 10 days, from the 10th to the 20th, we would be already 10 days into the walk. At 25 miles per day, we can be in Washington in 41 days. But if we have some runners who would be willing to take that extra couple miles for us, then we can probably do it in 30 days. No more than 35.
What do you mean runners? How would that make that shorter?
Okay, if we had a group of 5 groups, let's say we had 5 people doing 5 miles each, that's 25 miles. If we had a runner that could run 10 miles and let's say 2 hours, that would put us at 35 miles a day. If we had one runner who could run 20 miles on top of that 25, that's 45 miles in a day. but they don't have to do it every day. But I am looking at 25 miles per day and to be in Washington in 41 days.
Well, 25 miles per day is pretty good, though, for the elders and the children and everybody to be involved, to be walking, and to arrive at one time together as a whole, as a nation.
Leapfrogging. Yeah, leapfrogging would be pretty good. That's more reasonable, yes.
Yes.
So with that being said, is all of us, Esperanza Garcia, even, AIM, they want Leonard Peltier out of jail. Well, his family need to be there. Anna Mae Aquash, her mother was killed in Wounded Knee, and she needs to be there. Denise Pacheco, her mom, Anna Mae Aquash, was killed in Wounded Knee, 1973. They need to be there. All these people who lost somebody through World War I, World War III, all the veterans' wars, you need to be there. The grandmothers and the grandfathers and the children who grew up without families, they all need to listen to what this government has to say to us as to why they're keeping our people in poverty and genocide and neglecting treaty laws and laws, national and international laws. And why are they withholding evidence and being so greedy on the people's money?
Exactly.
We want answers, eh?
Yes, we do.
And we want them yesterday. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
The family of Joe Stuntz needs to be there too.
I asked some of these actors to join us, and these actors they have our children watching cartoons and movies and on these games, and I think personally we don't need actors with us. We need real people who have real feelings, who can deal with real change. Because these actors and movie stars, yes, if they show up, it's good. But are they there for themselves? Are they there for the money? Or will they do it for the people? Because as far as I see it, they're only doing it to benefit themselves. And I do not want to be working with somebody who's going to be doing that.
I agree.
We already have the government fucking us over. Excuse my language, but it's true.
Jeez, you had to learn English to talk like that.
I picked it up during school. It was third grade.
We're joking, but there are no swear words in any American Indian language. None. We have to describe what we're talking about. All of our languages are descriptive. Man, and I don't even want to go into detail on that. We just had a news bulletin here. The lawyer who ripped off residential school survivors has been suspended up in Dakota. Brought to you by Facebook and the APTN, National News. South of the border here, we'd be doing good.
David Block, his name is. Calgary lawyer David Block has been suspended from practicing by the Law Society.
Yeah.
Who was that?
David Block.
OCO Mark.
David
How do you
Block.
spell his last name?
Blott. First name David, as in David. It was up to BC Supreme Court Justice Brenda Brown to remove Blott from the compensation program called the Independent Assessment Process, or IAP, in 2011, and curb his interaction with survivors. So he's been stopped.
Yep. I'm being sued now.
He's being sued by, I guess, the Canadian government.
No, by native lawyers.
Oh, by native lawyers, I'm sorry.
You know, that reminds me of a lawyer.
Stop it. Just stop it.
Quit making us do that.
I know it. No, but we do need more Indigenous lawyers to specialize in Indigenous law, which will also include treaties and stuff, because our battlefields are not only on what things like Joann is doing, but also in the courtrooms. That's our battlefields today. And we can get them on these.
Yes, and we need more out there, a lot more out there.
Yep.
Now, Udo Ekwa, would you like to introduce to our relations who that was in the background?
Oh, this is where I'm at?
Yes.
Okay, this is Mark DeVille. He is Cherokee and English, and he's visiting from England. He came home to be with his real people. He's sitting here with a hatchet over my head. And so he's going to be here with me in Missouri for the week until we both fly out. I'll be going to New York to be meeting at the United Nations for the first time, and he will be going to, where are you going?
Alabama.
To Alabama.
And
down,
Kentucky to see.
And Kentucky to see my cousin who's on with us here, Gili Tatli, or Two Dogs, and also back to my sisters and brother-in-laws, and also with my Idoda, my dad.
Yeah. Can I just say something?
Yes, you can say something.
Hey, Chido.
Oh, time's up. No.
I'm going to sit on your lap in a minute.
Yeah.
Hey, Joann. Chido. I found out research. The reason why I was born in England is because my great-grandfather, to escape the boarding schools for my grandfather, he joined Buffalo Bill's Wild West show and come to England. And that's how come I ended up, although my grandfather went back and got a native wife, a Cherokee wife. That's how come I ended up being born in England.
Can I see your papers?
You know, my great grandmother was related to the Queen of England. They were first cousins.
Okay, boy, have I got a deal for you.
And you did shiny rock in the Tower of London.
You're talking about Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. My late wife and I were asked to host the William F. Cody family for the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus when they hosted this for the Cody family, and they gave me a video. His grandson, or Buffalo Bill's grandson, gave me this video. There's no sound to it, and it was of the first one filmed of his shows, and it was filmed by Alexander Graham Bell. And I've got that on there, and they have this one Lakota guy on there named Iron Eyes. Yeah. No, I don't know if he's Lakota. I may be wrong on that, but his name is Iron Eyes, and it has him actually doing the old-time sign language with William F. Cody. And that's one of the things that has survived my move, and so I'm really glad to have that, just so I can see that guy do that sign language.
Iron Eyes Cody.
Because wasn't Iron Eyes Cody?
Oh, what?
That was way before his time, and he wasn't even Indian.
My great grandpa, he invented that wheel for that wagon before it went all the way around. Yeah.
Nothing. He couldn't have done it without my great Ududu, who invented the fire for him to see that sucker at night. I'll top that Lakota woman.
My great grandma, she was the one who invented the cover of the wagon before the wagon was a cover.
The auntie to her was my great auntie, and she invented the rock that was carved the tool to make that with. Now that is humor, Indian humor.
It was my greatest grandfather who saw the first horse to be born to carry that wagon and all of its tools.
Wait a minute. You said he caused the horse to be born? That doesn't even sound good.
He seen the first horse.
Oh, he seen it. Oh, okay. I missed that part. I'm going to see you. So just credit for everything.
Back then, it was called a dream, and those damn Cherokee people over there, they turned them to visions, televisions.
Yes, but ours reaches further, eh? And we can share it.
Yeah. And then they call them flat screen at that.
Well, I heard that flat screen stuff came from the Crow, so.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah.
Well, that damn walking eagle, if it wasn't for him sitting down, our TVs would have maybe had some kind of shape or something. Damn, they're just flat today. Damn walking eagle.
The original ones from in the long ago time were actually round instead of square. Because everything in the natural world is round. And so, hey, you didn't think I'd pull philosophy in on this, did you? So now
I thought he went round.
And for the TV, for those young people out there that don't really understand, we actually had to get up to change the channel.
Yeah.
It was usually the children that were the remote control.
I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
And adjust a wire with tinfoil on it to get in good reception,
And every now and then you have to hit the TV.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we hit ours with the radio. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe that wasn't good. But there's a lot of stuff that has been discussed tonight, and we've put a lot of information out there. And this is to give you an idea of what our indigenous people are still going through today. And it hasn't stopped. You just don't hear about it because the powers to be don't want the American people to know about it. And this is one of the reasons that our indigenous peoples are still going through the things that we as a people are still going through. And it's important that this gets out, because there's so many things that our people don't know. I am a world traveler. I have been everywhere just about in the world. I've been very fortunate for that. And I know how blessed I am in that because most of our people have never had that opportunity, our indigenous people.
Hello?
And you find that more today, where we're having more opportunities for that. But this is to get the word out of what's going on, because our people here on Turtle Island, with a country that is supposedly as wealthy and privileged as it is, for our people to still living in conditions worse than third world countries. That's not right. Especially when these people, our people, are the ones that welcomed the migrants here with open arms because they were dying, and we took that responsibility because that wasn't our way. Old way were our people, and I'm sure this is the same for most tribes. The further people came from, the more you went out of your way to make them feel welcomed. And we did this. Now, that's our history. This is our indigenous history. Today that history is being taught, I know in Alabama for sure, because that's where my nieces and nephews go to school. They came home one day and said, Uncle, we have learned a lot about our people today. What do you mean you've learned about our people today? Well, we found out that if it wasn't for the Pilgrims, our people would have died. They're teaching it just backwards. If it wasn't for our indigenous people, the European migrants would have died. And this is what they're teaching our children today in the schools. This is how bad American education has got. I, as an indigenous American, will not believe anything I read in a history book because I know they do not tell the truth of my history, the true history of this country. And these are the things that we have to safeguard. And this is the reason that we have our elders, because they can keep the truth to our people. Our people know the truth of our people. We know the truth of our history. And we hear these stories so many times that we can actually pass them down word for word. In our way, you do not get up and say, oh, I've heard that before, and walk away. That will never happen if you're in the presence of an elder and you're a traditional. And this is how come we know our history, and this is how come our history has never died. As a matter of fact, it keeps getting added to. And no, we are not a part of the past history. We are a continuing part of the history of our country, Turtle Island. And you know what? We welcome people here that will honor and respect our country, Turtle Island, which is the name all tribes call this continent. And this includes our brothers and sisters in Dakota and also our brothers to the south in what is called Mexico. They also are indigenous people to Turtle Island. And this is something that is very strong in the hearts of our people. And no, we're not a people that hates. We are a loving people, but we will not be walked on. Would anybody like to add to that?
I would. Thank you, brother. And sisters and relatives that are tuning in at this time, and the world ambassadors, if you're listening, thank you for tuning in. Tonight we did discuss about Washington being a prison at one time. The White House, the actual White House. We discussed Americo Vespucci having syphilis and died in 1512. The Corporation of America that is currently bankrupt, and the 1933 bankruptcy. So no way in history did the Europeans ever save us from anything. As a matter of fact, the Europeans gave our Indian people smallpox, 300,000 of them. Yeah, 300,000 indigenous Indians, and damn near wiped our Indian people off the face of the earth. And to this day, our Indian people, because we know about the boarding schools where they beat the holy hell out of our people, made them talk English, forced them to talk their English language, and raped them, and even in some cases murdered our children. Our people still continue to have a good heart no matter what. And what I'm asking for from the United Nations is, it's about time all of us come to peace and justice and get rid of Washington, D.C., the correctional facility that once belonged to the Clintons, and shut it down and build a new building that operates further away from Washington, more inland, like the center of the United States, and rename this land to either the Red Nations or Turtle Island, because so long as an Indian is alive, we will never allow anybody from any country to manipulate us for the sake of money and greed. So if everybody's on the same page, and you know that this land is ours, for once in your lifetime, tell the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
And I'd like to add to that, too, that Turtle Island includes Mexico and Canada, too. I mean, the whole entire continent was called Turtle Island, so it's not just Washington, D.C. that needs to leave. It needs to return the land back to our people.
Two Dogs, do you have anything you would like to add to this? Two Dogs, do you have anything you'd like to add before we go off the air?
Number one, we have Lakota, Salagi, Shawandasi. There's many, many nations here on Turtle Island. We don't own what we walk on, as Tashoka Wicco once said. She owns you.
That's right.
And as far as the corporations, if it wasn't for the indigenous people, there would be no America. And to Adolph Harper over in Kanakota, if it wasn't for the First Nations in Canada, there would be no Canada. The thing about it is we're free and independent nations, all of us, and should be dealt with respect as you would respect yourself.
Oh.
And to the people that have heard this show in Joanne's language here, I would like to say Pila Maye, Michante Kola, Lila Washte, good show. Oh.
What he meant is what he meant was Tilamelo. And what did you say that last part?
Michante Kolas.
His sweet friends. Chante, his heart out to his friends. So okay, Misha, Wopla Chechu, Chante washte kito, Nadako Hecha washte kinye yuhahelo. My relatives, thank you for this time.
Okay. Thank you guys, especially you, Joanne, for being our guest tonight. We thank everybody that's been on to add to the conversation with our special guest, Joanne Spotted Bear. And we will be on next week. We will be broadcasting from New York, from the United Nations. So I can't tell you who our guest will be because we are meeting so many indigenous people from around the world for the rest of the month. And I will be talking with you then. Thank you, Chimmy, for helping me on the show tonight. I think we did a pretty good job tonight, Udo.
Thank you. I'd like to say, Sanoli Ostai Aledona Dog, my relations, Gagayui, and may you join us next week.
Sanoli Ostai Aledona Dog, Oganali Elinagida, Ho.
Donada.
Sanoli Ostai, Donadaga Hui.
Engari te titi e tani hare ana Pai tokoru Arawa Raukawa Tena ko au nei e manu Kaoki mai ki te pō Ka whai uri ki Nokua noko ia ko te wale warera Te whai au I te tira aere Ko te hina whakanaro ana Aiwi maunga ki hui arau Kia ringia ki te roi mata Ko te rere au ki ngau e mutura Ko wana ke rai mau e ione Hei he teri kirita Ki te matu ahu Hei titiro no atura ki woe He waka he raerere atura Whakatikara wake ki rungara